ಸೊ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್ 2ಗೆ ಬರುವ. ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತು ಓದಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಫುಲ್ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟು ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿತದೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು. ಸೊ ಆಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಪಿಟ್ ಫಾಲ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, ಹೌದು ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Obstacles and pitfall in the development path. The development path of a computer is littered with obstacles and traps, many of them human in nature. ಮತ್ತು ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ 1988 ಇದೊಂದು ಸೂಪರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮೇಯ್ನ್. ಅವ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಟದು. ಅವನ ನಿಮಿತ್ತನೇ ನಾವೀಗ ಕಲಿಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಅವನ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂದ ಅದರ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ನೆನಪಿಡುವ. ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ 1988 ಅವ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ನೋ ಬಡಿ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ರೈಟ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಜೋಕ್ ಫುಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಸರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಗುಡ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಸಿ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್. ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ನಾನು ಹೀಗೇ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಇಗ್ನೋರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ವಿಲ್ ನೆವರ್ ಎಲಿಮಿನೇಟ್ ನೀಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜ್. ಈವನ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಮೇಡ್ ದ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ಲಿ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್, ಪೀಪಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದೆಮ್. Common pitfalls: no early analysis, understanding of users' needs and expectations, a focus on users using design features or components that are neat or glitzy. Designing for people: the five commandments gain a complete understanding of users and their tasks. The users are the customers. Today people expect a level of design sophistication from all interfaces including websites. The product, system or website must be geared to people's needs, not to those developers. Solicit early and ongoing user involvement. Solicit early and ongoing user involvement. Involving the users in design from the beginning provides a direct conduct to the knowledge they possess about the job, task and needs. Involvement also allows the developer to confront person's resistance to change. People dislike change for a variety of reasons, like fear of the unknown and lack of identification. Perform rapid prototyping and testing. The product will quickly identify problems and allow you to develop solutions. That design process is complex and human behavior is still not well understood. Prototyping and testing must be continually performed during all stages of development. Uncover all potential defects. Modify and iterate the design as much as necessary. Design process through a series of stages. Problems detected in one stage may force the developer to revisit a previous stage. Integrate the design of all system components. The software, the documentation, the help function and training needs are all important elements of a graphical system or a website, and all should be developed concurrently. Usability benefit: ಬರ್ನೆಟ್ 1979. ಇದು ನೆನಪಿಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಮೋಲ್ಡ್ 1988 ಅದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಇದು ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್, ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಓದಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡೇಟ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟಿಲ್ಲಿ. ಯೂಸಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್. The design process. Usability assessment should begin in the early stage. Assessment should include a user's entire experience and all the product important components. Mandel 19 ಆಗದೇನಿತ್ತು, ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ 1988 ಅದೊಂದು ನೆನಪಿಡುವ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇಡ. ambiguous menu, input and direct manipulation, blah 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 blah. Visual clutter, a lack of white spaces, meaningless graphics and unnecessary wasteful decoration, impaired information readability. Incomprehensible components. Some design elements do not give the user any clue about their function. Annoying distractions, elements constantly in motion, scrolling, confusing navigation, inefficient operations, excessive or inefficient page scrolling, information overload, design consistency, outdated information, state design caused by emulation of printed document and pages. The web is a new state of medium. Some practical measures of usability are people asking a lot of question or reaching out for a manual. Many questions or frequent glances at manuals are signs that things are not clear and intuitive. Are frequent exasperation responses heard? Oh damn, or similar reactions are usually used to express annoyance or frustration. Their frequency. ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಪರೇಷನ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಹರ್ಡ್. ಇಂಥದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಟರ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ ನನಗೆ ಈ ವರ್ಡ್ ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು, ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಪರೇಷನ್. Are there many irrelevant action to be performed? Are there many things to ignore? Do a number of people want to use your product? Some objective measures of usability. Shackle. Present the following more objective criteria for measuring usability. How effective is the system? Can the required range of tasks be accomplished? What are the attributes of the users? Are they within acceptable range? Important human characteristics in design. Perception is our awareness and understanding of the elements and objects of our environment through the physical sensation of our various senses. Proximity, our eyes and mind see objects as belonging together if they are near to each other in space. Similarity, our eyes and mind see objects as belonging together if they share a visual property, color, size, matching pattern. We respond similarly to a same shape in different sizes. Succinctness, we see an object as having some perfect or simple shape because perfection or simplicity is easier to remember. Closure, our perception is synthetic. It establishes meaningful goals if something does not quite close itself, such as a circle. Unity, objects that form closed shapes are perceived as a group. Continuity, shortened lines may be automatically extended. Balance, we desire stabilization, equilibrium in viewing. Expectancy, sometimes we perceive not what is there but what we expect to be there. Context, environment and surroundings also influence individual perception. For example, two drawn lines of same length. Signals versus noise, our memory is viewed as consisting two components, ಒಂದು ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ, ಒಂದು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ. Short term memory or working memory receives information from either the senses or within short term memory a limited amount of information processing takes place. Knowledge, experience and familiarity govern the size of complexity information. Long term memory contains the knowledge we possess. Information received in sensory storage is the buffer where the automatic processing of information collected from our senses. Visual acuity, capacity of eye to resolve details is called as visual acuity. The eye is also never perfectly steady as it sees. Foveal and peripheral vision, foveal vision is used to focus directly on something. Peripheral vision senses anything in the area surrounding the location we are looking at, but is there cannot be clearly resolved because of the limitations in visual acuity. Information processing, the information that our senses collect has to be processed in some meaningful way. Two levels of information processing. The highest level is identified with consciousness and working memory. It is limited. Mental model, as a result of our experience and culture, we develop mental models of things and people we interact with. A mental model is an internal representation of a person's current understanding. Movement control, once data has been perceived and an appropriate action decided upon, a response must be made. In many cases the response is a movement. The time to acquire a target is a function of a distance. ನನಗೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಥಿಯರಿ ಅಂತ ಇಷ್ಟು ಡೀಪ್ ಉಂಟಪ್ಪ ದೇವ. Learning is the process of encoding in a long term memory information that is contained in short term memory. ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದದ್ದು ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮಿಗೆ ಹಾಕೋದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಓದಿದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮರೆತೋಗ್ತದೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಇದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅದು ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಬಟ್ ನೀವು ರಿಪಿಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಷ್ಟೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮಿಗೆ ಸಹ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇಡಬೇಕಂತ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಅನ್ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಉಂಟು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಉಂಟು ಅಂತ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಯಾವಾಗ. ನಾವು ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ಫುಲ್ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಕಿಲ್, ದ ಗೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ is to perform skillfully. individual differences and advantages. Human characteristic is we all differ in looks, feelings, motor abilities, intellectual abilities, learning abilities, speed, so on. Human interaction, reading, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿದೆ, ರೀಡಿಂಗ್, ಲಿಸ್ನಿಂಗ್, ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್, ಸ್ಪೀಡ್, ಅದೊಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್. ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್, ಕೀಯಿಂಗ್, ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟಿಂಗ್. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮೆಮೊರೈಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ at 31 words per minute. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮೆಮೊರೈಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಬರೆಯುವುದು, ಕೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಟೈಪ್, ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯುವುದು. ಇದು ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯೋದು. 31 ವರ್ಡ್ ಬರಿತೇವೆ ನಾವು. ಓಕೆ, ನಾವು ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರಿತೇವಲ್ಲ, 31 words per minute. ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಪಿಡ್ ಅಟ್ 22 words per minute. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೊಂದು ಆಗ ಕತೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನಾನು 1-to-1 ಇಂಟರ್ವ್ಯೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸೊ ಅದು ನೆನಪಿಡೋದು. ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಇದು ನೋಡುವಾಗಲೇ ತಲೆನೋವು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಉದ್ದ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡಿ. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಓದು, ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್, 1-to-1 visit is held with the user. It may be structured or more open-ended, collected in a common framework, ensured that all important aspects are thoroughly covered. Formal questionnaire should not be used. Useful topics to ask the user, describe in interview. Advantage, you can give the user full attention, can easily include follow-up question, will have more time to discuss topic in detail. Disadvantage, they can be costly and time consuming. Telephone interview, the disadvantage, impossible to gather contextual information. Traditional group, small group of users, 8 to 12, brought together to discuss the requirements. Focus groups, not usually useful for establishing how users really work or what kind of usability problems they really have. Facilitated team workshop, similar in structure and content to a traditional focus group, but it is slightly less formal. Observational field study, to see and learn what users actually do. They are watched and followed in their own environment, office or home. Requirement prototyping, a demonstration model or very early prototype is presented to the users for their comments concerning functionality. User interface prototyping, a demonstration model or early prototype is presented to the users to uncover user interface issues. Usability laboratory testing, special laboratory is constructed and users brought in to perform actual newly designed tasks. They are observed and results measured and evaluated to establish the usability of the product. At that point in time, usability tests uncover what people actually do, not what they think they do. Common problem with verbal. ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಸಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿ ಬೇಡ. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಂದು ಪೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ದನ್ನೇ ಪುನಃ ನೋಡುವಾಗ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಓನ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀರಿ. ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್, ನ್ಯೂ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಆನ್ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟೆಡ್. ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್, ಕೀಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾರ್ಮೆಲ್ ಬೇಡ. ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ business function, gain a complete understanding of user's mental model based upon the user's needs and the user's profile. Develop a conceptual model of the system based upon the user's mental model that includes defining an object, developing metaphors, understanding the user's mental model. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್, ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಮಾಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇನ್ನೂ ಬೆಟರಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಅವ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಓಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ರಕ್ಷಣ್, ಅವ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಹ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ನನಗಿಂತ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಒಳ್ಳೇದುಂಟು ಅವಂದು. ಸೊ ಅವಂದು ನೋಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರದ್ದು PDF ನೋಡಿ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಂದ ಓದುವ. Guidelines reflect the user's mental model. A user will have different expectation and levels of knowledge than the designer, so the mental model of user and designers will be different. Designers model focused on design of the interface, the kinds of objects must be defined along with relationship behavior. And we should draw physical analogy. A metaphor to be effective must be widely applicable within an interface, comply with the expectancies, habits, routines, and stereotypes. Use use words and symbols in their customary ways. Replicate the language of the user and create icons reflecting already known images. Create a system that builds on knowledge, habits, routines, and expectancies that already exist. Provide action response compatibility. All system response should be compatible with the action. Make invisible parts of the system visible. System composed of parts and process, many of which are invisible to users. Provide proper and correct feedback. Provide feedback. Keep a person informed of what is happening, what has happened at all times. Avoid the unnecessary or irrelevant. Never display relevant information on the screen. Provide design consistency. ಇದು ಓದಿ ಓದಿ ನಂದು ನನಗೆ ನೀರು ಕುಡಿಬೇಕು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ, ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಇದಾಯಿತು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ. The user's new mental model. When the system is implemented and person interacts with the new system and its interface, an attempt will be made by the person to understand the system based upon existing mental model. Design standards. Value of standards. Allow faster developing and applying design standards or guidelines achieves design consistency, valuable to users because the standards and guidelines allow faster performance, reduce errors, reduce training time, foster better system utilization, improve satisfaction, improve system acceptance, business system interface standards and guidelines. I think it's ಸಾಕು checklist and okay ಸಾಕಿದು. ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್.